Today, we are going to dive straight into a completely immersive narrative. We're going to recount the exact chronological timeline of a startup's life and its quiet death. I want you to immediately put yourself in the shoes of a 24-year-old founder. Picture this. You're sitting at a small table in a local coffee shop. And this table, it's basically become your fake office, right? Because real offices are for real companies, and right now, your company is just a Google Drive folder, a registered domain name, and this intense, burning belief that you're onto something big. It's 3:12 a.m. You're sitting there aggressively refreshing your Stripe analytics. And the thing is, the dashboard is entirely clean. It's clean in the way an empty room is clean. There are absolutely no pending deposits, zero new customers, no evidence whatsoever that the outside world has even noticed you've built something. Look down at your laptop charger. It's cracked near the magnetic end, literally held together by gray tape that you keep telling yourself you'll replace. It's glowing faintly right next to a sweating can of cold brew. You whisper, "This could be big," out loud, just so the sentence exists somewhere outside of your own skull. Welcome to Level 1, the idea. It's 1:44 a.m. and you're staring at a completely blank document. You're being driven by an absolute, suffocating terror of becoming normal. You refuse to be just another tired face on a morning train holding lunch in a plastic bag. No way. You need proof that your inability to settle down is actually vision. So, you type out, "The future of work is broken." You delete it. You try, "People deserve better tools." Nah, you delete that too. Finally, you land on, "We're building infrastructure for the next generation of independent operators." Honestly, you don't even fully know what that means yet. But hey, it sounds fundable, doesn't it? By level 2, you're back in your apartment. The blinds are half open, the heat is rattling in the pipes, and your dining table has officially become your desk. Your diet? Exclusively cabinet ramen and fridge cold brew. You're building the first prototype, and let me tell you, it barely works. You click buttons, and they lead absolutely nowhere. But then, at 2 a.m., it happens. The screen finally changes from one page to another. You feel something almost religious in that moment. It's just movement, sure, but movement is enough. You start using the word "we" in your notes, even though you are sitting there entirely alone. Now we hit level 3. You're in a dark, loud bar with your friends, pitching them your company over wings and fries. You are talking way too fast, waving your hands around, throwing out buzzwords like market gap and synergy. And then one of your friends politely nods and says, "Yeah, I could see this working." You grab onto that polite little sentence like it's a life preserver. You carry it all the way home like it's actual investment capital in your pocket. You even open your pitch deck right before midnight just to add a bullet point that proudly states, "Strong qualitative interest from target users." Then comes level 4. This is the sheer euphoric power of a single notification. A total stranger signs up. 2 days later, at exactly 2:17 a.m., an email from Stripe arrives. $9. You immediately screenshot it. You stare at that $9 until it becomes purely symbolic. It's a real game changer. You frantically open a spreadsheet and start calculating. Okay, if 100 people pay, what if 10,000 people pay? By 3:06 a.m., you aren't even looking at $9 anymore. You are looking at your literal escape velocity from a realistic life. Which brings us to level 5, the pitch deck era. Slowly but surely, the pitch deck begins to change you. You learn how to arrange reality until it sounds persuasive. You start practicing your pitch in your bathroom just because the acoustics make your voice sound important. No users smoothly transforms into early community. No revenue? That magically becomes pre-monetization. With every revision, the slides in your deck get a little less truthful and a lot more confident. That hockey stick graph is pointing straight to the moon. You're learning how to sound entirely inevitable, at least for 12 minutes at a time. And that leads right into level 6, burn rate psychology. At this point, money is no longer money, it is runway. You start measuring your literal life in months remaining. You obsessively pull up your banking app in public bathrooms. You're checking your AWS billing in the middle of dinner. You memorize the exact day of the month that Notion, Figma, GitHub, Slack, and Zoom hit your account. Every single small software charge feels like a mosquito bite on a dying animal. The startup isn't just an idea anymore. It is a machine that quietly eats your cash every single morning. In level 7, you step onto the stage of investor theater. You're sitting in one of those glass co-working spaces where the potted plants honestly look healthier than the company's. You carefully hide your cracked laptop charger in your bag like it's some shameful secret. The investor is late, but you just laugh it off. You deliver the pitch perfectly. Problem, solution, market size. Then the investor asks these deep-sounding questions that mostly just mean no, and you diffuse them like bombs. Finally, they hit you with, "Keep us updated." You don't realize it quite yet, but that phrase is just a polite door closing very slowly. So you dutifully keep them updated with every new almost and maybe. This pushes you straight into level 8, which is this really strange phase of fake momentum. On the outside, the company looks absolutely incredible. You launch on social media, a podcast invites you on as a guest, and you describe your bone-deep exhaustion as discipline and your mounting fear as focus. And the crazy part? Your podcast clips and pictures of your face are getting far more engagement than your actual software. You start feeling this terrifying truth creeping in. You are just performing. But you push it down, you post another update saying, "Big week ahead," complete with a rocket emoji. And you secretly hate yourself for needing the validation. Level 9 is conference season. Picture yourself trying to sleep sitting up near gate B18 at the airport, wearing your founder lanyard like it's a borrowed identity. Once you get to the conference, it seems like everyone is crushing it. Everyone is raising millions. Everyone is in stealth mode. But you quickly realize everyone is just lying at different volumes. You learn to smile and nod, saying things like, "We're not optimizing for vanity metrics right now," mostly because your metrics are terrible. And at night, you drag yourself back to your hotel room, crack open your laptop, and stare at 0 new activations. Then, the quiet devastation of level 10 hits. It's 9:41 p.m. You're on a Zoom call with your co-founder. There's no screaming, there's no dramatic betrayal like in the movies. Your co-founder just calmly says they need stability. They are escaping the burning building before they completely forget what the outside air smells like. You say you understand. And honestly, the worst part is that you really do. After they finally log off, you just sit in that damaged room for 23 minutes, quietly peeling old planning sticky notes off the wall, staring at a completely silent Slack workspace. You then slip into level 11, the maintenance era. The startup doesn't dramatically die, it just continues, half working. You are entirely alone now, answering customer support emails at midnight. You're hunting down bugs in the dark. Your apartment doesn't feel like a headquarters anymore, it feels like a hiding place. You stop telling your friends that big news is coming. Instead, when people ask how things are going, you just say, "Still building." It becomes your camouflage. It's a prayer you repeat to yourself when you literally don't know if you're being noble or just avoiding reality. In level 12, you face the psychological trap of the unemployable mind. You try to look at job listings just to be responsible, senior product manager, growth lead, but your brain physically rejects them like incompatible software. The mere thought of reporting to someone else, of cheerfully telling a recruiter that your company failed, feels like complete and utter defeat. You built this door out of your old life, but it didn't lead anywhere. And now, you are just stuck standing in the doorway, unable to go forward, and way too proud to go back. By level 13, you completely stop asking yourself how you feel. You start replacing your emotions entirely with metrics. You tell yourself, "I'm not sad, retention is just down. I'm not lonely, engagement is flat. I'm not terrified, runway is simply tightening." You are literally using analytics as sandbags to hold back the flood of human pain. Because a failed graph hurts so much less than a failed dream, right? You stack up words like MRR, churn, cohort analysis, but the water just keeps rising anyway. Level 14 brings the crushing weight of investor silence. You literally cry in the shower, dry your hands, and immediately sit down to draft a bravely fabricated April investor update. You don't mention the midnight panic attacks or the steady user decline. No, you only mention refined focus and operational discipline. You take a breath, press send, and wait. One single investor replies, "Thanks for the update, keep going." The rest say absolutely nothing. Unread emails used to feel like pure possibility. Now they just feel like unopened medical results. You finally realize that capital despises grief, and you have basically become grief with a calendar link. In level 15, you take a trip to the abandoned office space near the highway. It smells like dust and old coffee. There's a forgotten monitor sitting on a desk, and a cardboard box of startup merch shoved in the corner. You reach in and pick up a soft, cleanly embroidered company hoodie. The logo looks so bold and confident that it almost feels cruel. Nobody wears the merch anymore, and it's not because the clothes are ugly. It's because the fabric remembers way too much. Level 16 is the quiet shutdown. There is no dramatic explosion. The end of the company is just a quiet, depressing spreadsheet of operations. You are tallying up outstanding invoices, legal fees, server costs, and taxes. You are sitting there calculating the exact financial cost of disappearing responsibly. You draft the final email to your customers, rewriting the very first sentence 9 different times, desperately trying to find a way to say you failed without sounding like you're becoming nobody again. You finally settle on the phrase, "We're winding down operations." It sounds clean, doesn't it? Peaceful, like simply turning off a light switch in an empty room. You send it out, and the light flickers through a series of domain transfers and archived Slack channels. Then, a single user replies to your email. "Sad to see this go. Was rooting for you." You close your laptop. That one short sentence of genuine pity hurts far more than any harsh criticism ever could. The morning after, in level 17, you wake up at 7:18 a.m. to a terrifying, heavy silence. Your hand automatically reaches for a phone that has no urgent bug reports and absolutely no Slack pings. Your identity is desperately searching for the machine that consumed it for so long. You make ordinary coffee and look out the window. Ordinary people are out there walking their dogs and catching buses, moving through their day completely unaware that you have just survived something massive and entirely invisible. Months later, you reach level 18. A friend casually asks what happened with the business. You could easily use the clean startup language, distribution challenges, market timing, the usual excuses. But you are just too tired for that now. So you strip away the camouflage and tell them the smaller, heavier truth. You look right at them and say, "I think I needed it to work too badly." They nod, but they don't fully understand. Heck, you barely understand it yourself. Because the ultimate realization is this: the startup was never just software. It was a costume. It was a shelter. It was a very public argument that you mattered, a weapon you forged against ordinariness. You thought you were building a tech platform, but you were actually building a version of yourself that other people could believe in. And when the company died, you lost the witness. Without the polished pitch deck, the conference lanyard, and that cracked charger at 3:12 a.m. telling you that you aren't ordinary, there is only you. And so, you are left completely alone in a quiet room, stripped of the brand, the metrics, and the monthly updates. The founder ghost has finally faded, leaving behind one final, haunting question for you to face in the absolute silence. Did you ever truly believe in the company? Or did you only need the company to believe in you?